It's January 2021, the 11th month of the coronavirus pandemic here in Los Angeles. Now, before I get started in talking about the situation in Los Angeles, I first have to address one of the two biggest things that happened this past month in January. Two historically big things that happened in American history. One of the darkest days, and another one that is historic and could be maybe a little brighter. But first, I have to tackle one of the darkest days. On January 6th in Washington, D.C., there was an insurrection that happened in the U.S. Capitol building. This is actually one of the first breaches of security in Washington, D.C. since the War of 1812, where the British soldiers basically set fire of the White House back all that time ago. But in this one, it was actually made by domestic terrorists. These were people that were from the far extremist right, in which they were still talking about conspiracy theories that the election was stolen, that there was illegal voting, that Trump is the rightful president and Biden is not, and they were actually going to take matters into their own hands no matter what, and even using violence as a way to gaining what they wanted. And it all started from a Trump rally that was happening right in front of the White House, in which he was basically just doing the same old Trump message that Trump was saying that he was the one that won, that the election was being stolen, and that they should prevent the certification of Joe Biden of becoming the next president of the United States. So after that rally was finished, a huge number of Trump supporters and also far-right extremist groups went and stormed the U.S. Capitol building. The whole world watched in shock how this building of democracy was being vandalized, was being overrun, and it was just chaos all around. And about hundreds of people actually made it inside the U.S. Capitol building, breached security, and went into the House chamber, the Senate chamber, and they were just doing a lot of vandalism, stealing things, destroying property. And throughout that entire chaos, many people died. Both the insurrectionists or domestic terrorists and also the Capitol police officers. And by the end of the day, when the situation was sort of controlled because there was reinforcements of police and National Guardsmen, we saw the destruction of what was happening in the U.S. Capitol building. Everybody was shook, but the U.S. Congress members waited until everything was cleaned up and then resumed Congress in order for the certification of Joe Biden, in which in the late hours of the night, they still continued, and then it was official that Joe Biden was going to become the 46th president of the United States. So that was one of the darkest days so far in American history, and just in the beginning of 2021. But there is a little light in the end of that story. The reason why is because a lot of those insurrectionists or domestic terrorists actually didn't know that there was facial recognition technology that the FBI can use in those federal buildings. So a lot of them were being stopped in airports. They were in the no-fly zone. They were also being arrested from their homes or other places. And some of them even got fired from their jobs. And it was just quite interesting to see that your actions, if they're bad ones, they will receive consequences. It's just as simple as that. So that's a little bit of good news. But now next to the big, huge event that happened afterwards with this insurrection incident that happened, the fallout, there was a huge cry for security. So National Guardsmen were basically patrolling Washington, D.C. It was on lockdown until the inauguration of Joe Biden. So on January 20th, Joe Biden was sworn in as the 46th president. And also Kamala Harris made history, becoming the first woman and woman of color to become the vice president. And it was a very small ceremony. There wasn't that much of a crowd. Everybody was social distancing. Everybody was wearing a mask, and they were doing their best to follow protocols to stop the spread of the virus. So it just shows that even though we went through that dark time of the insurrection in the Capitol, the government still continues without a hitch. So now we're in the Biden administration, so we're going to see how he's going to tackle the situation of COVID-19 and also how we can kind of heal this divided nation that we're living in right now. But we'll see what happens. But hopefully, Biden does a good job as president. But we'll see what happens in the next upcoming 4 years. Regarding the coronavirus here in the city of Los Angeles, it is official that Los Angeles is now the epicenter of the pandemic here in the United States. Los Angeles has one of the highest numbers of cases, of deaths and hospitalization than anywhere else in the U.S. And the numbers don't lie. We've just seen these numbers just skyrocketing out of control, and it all has to do with people that do not social distance, that do not wear masks, that throw parties with high number of people that are not in their households, and a lot of people that still think that this is not a big deal, but unfortunately, numbers don't lie, the statistics don't lie, and of course, the hospitals don't lie as well, because the doctors, the nurses, anyone that is in the medical field gets interviewed every single day talking about how exhausted a lot of the workers are, and that we have these long lines of patients that are trying to receive treatment, but they can't. And a lot of the dead bodies that are in the morgues, they're just over flooded, in which they have to buy these huge cooler containers and put them next to the hospital so they can move bodies around. And it looks right now that Los Angeles is just holding by a thread right now. But we have to stay positive. We have to continue this fight. We have to educate ourselves. They keep putting in commercials online, on social media, just simple things like, again, wearing a mask, social distancing, washing your hands, staying home as much as often. If you don't need to go outside, don't do it. Only go out for the essentials. But so far, that's what the situation is, what is going on here in Los Angeles. Regarding the coronavirus here in the state of California, there was actually big news that happened on January 25th. The governor of California announced that the stay-at-home order was officially over statewide, and that everyone was available to go outside of their homes, and that restaurants could be open, and some other places that have businesses can also open as well, with restrictions as well. And just to name a few things is that the restaurants can actually have outdoor dining again, but again, they have to follow the COVID-19 California Health Department protocols. So it's not too bad. But I kind of think it's kind of strange that even though we're seeing these high number of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths that is just soaring out of control, that now is a good time to open businesses, because I feel like it's going to close again. But another thing that is also going on statewide is that the vaccinations are happening more and more, and they're opening huge centers for vaccination as well. And the first people that have to get vaccinated are people who are on the age of 65 and up. And if you need to register to go find a place to get vaccinated, you just have to go to your local city website, and then you can find the information there. It's not that problem, but I still am on the fence of that, but I'm not an elected official, so they might have more information than I do. But looking at the situation and looking at the data that I'm seeing, I don't know if it's counterproductive, but I do understand that businesses really need the business in order for them to survive, or else they're just gonna flat out collapse. And they need business, they need the money, they have to pay bills. And I totally understand that not everyone has the means for them to stay at home and work from home. Some other jobs require to go outside, but if you do have to go outside, all what they're asking the medical experts are to stay safe, make sure to social distance, wear a mask, wash your hands, and if you can, wear gloves in order to stop the spread of this virus, because it's just going out of control. In addition, regarding the coronavirus here in the United States, in the month of January 2021, it actually reached a grim milestone. According to the Johns Hopkins University, the United States actually reached and surpassed 400,000 Americans who have died because of COVID-19, and the number still increases. A day before the inauguration of President Biden, there was actually a memorial service nationwide to honor all those people that lost their lives since the start of this pandemic. And hopefully, with the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines and the vaccination centers that are happening all over the country, maybe there is light in the end of the tunnel and we can finally be fighting back against the spread of COVID-19 and hopefully slow the numbers down along the line. One good thing that actually did happen this past month that I actually have a smile about was that my father was one of the first people of my immediate family to actually receive the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine. And it happened actually the last week of January on the 22nd. And he basically made an appointment, and we went to the vaccination center. The first thing that they said was, if you made an appointment, the answer was yes. Then they check your temperature. Then they ask you questions to see if you have any allergies or any medication that you're taking. And if everything checks off, then you take the vaccine. And you basically stay in your car. They take the vaccine on whatever arm that is reachable. And then you have to wait like 15 minutes to see if there is any allergic reaction. There wasn't. And I have the chance to ask him how he felt. So we finally made it here to the first of the Pfizer doses. My father right now, he's over the age of 65. He just got administered the first doses, and he feels great. Te sientes muy bien, ¿verdad?
I feel good, yeah.
Yes, muy bien.
And God be true.
God be true, ¿verdad?
Yes.
And over 70 years old and still selling cars.
I hope so. I hope so.
¿Verdad?
Yeah. Yesterday I sold one car.
Sí. But it's good. You took it, got it. You're going to wait for the second dose.
Second dose.
Second dose, right?
February 21st.
Yeah, that's right.
At the same time.
And we'll be back here.
All right.
Everything professional. Sure. Everything looks good. Todo bueno, ¿verdad?
A recommendation display.
¿Verdad? All right, that's good. You heard it. You have a chance to take the Pfizer. You're over 65. Go on and do it. So that is it for this month's video of the LA Corona Diaries. I will be back next month in February. So everyone, stay strong, stay safe.